Hi, this is mostly for parents, so you sort of know when your child is asked to do a writing assignment, what that actually means and what they're expected to do. I know they are very familiar with how they are supposed to set their writing assignments up, but I know if you're trying to help them, you may kind of need some direction so you know what we expect them to do when they're doing their writing assignments, so you kind of know where to guide them. So I'm just gonna give you like a quick little tutorial, I guess. All right, so I have here on my computer just an example of a writing prompt. This one, I just pulled it from the reading packet that they have. There is an article about the Star Spangled Banner and the American flag and things like that. I think it's the second article in the passage, or I mean, I'm sorry, in the packet. So on here would be what a writing prompt would look like that your kids might see. It says Mary Pickersgill sewed what turned out to be the most famous flag in U.S. history, even after a battle during the War of 1812, her flag was still seen flying high. In a multi-paragraph essay, write about how the American flag is an important part of U.S. history. All right, so your kids are used to seeing these prompts. The first thing that we tell them to do when they see the prompt is to go through, because there's all this other writing and information and things like that that are just kind of like an introduction, but they're not part of what their prompt actually is. So the first thing we tell them to do, very first thing, step one, is identify what the prompt actually is, like what the topic that they actually have to write about is. And one hint that we always tell them is I tell them to look wherever it says in a multi-paragraph essay, the prompt that will be like usually right after that. In a multi-paragraph essay, it will say write blah 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 blah. Like this one says, write about how the American flag is an important part of U.S. history. So that would actually be their prompt. So a lot of times what I'll do with them is I will go through and I will say, okay, well, guys, when you see this on there, read through the mumbo jumbo at the top and then highlight what actually you need to write about. Like all the stuff at the top doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter for what they're writing about. And then I say highlight the actual prompt, the actual thing that you're supposed to be writing about. And so and then we just go through and we usually make it yellow or something. So like that way, as they're writing, they can look and say, okay, what am I writing about again? Oh, I'm writing how the flag is important, an important part of U.S. history. Okay, so that being said, the next thing that we've taught them all year and that they also use in 4th and 5th grade is we use a certain writing organizer that looks like this. Hopefully this will stay on my computer. There we go. It looks like this. So the next thing that we tell them to do is get like a scrap piece of paper or something, like a little page in their journal, and then they have to write this organizer out. And I'm going to walk through so you know what each of these letters stands for. Your kids can tell you. I mean, every single kid in the room could tell you what every single of the things in here stand for, but at least then you know. So when they write, this helps them keep track to make sure that their writing is organized and that they have all of the pieces that they need. Each time you see a line, that means they have to hit enter twice to go down and start a new paragraph. So when they're done, they would have 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph, the introductory paragraph, has what's called a hook and a prompt. So H for hook, P for prompt. Okay, the hook is just something that is supposed to pull the reader in. So for the Star Spangled Banner, for this prompt here, how the American flag is an important part of U.S. history, the hook could be something like, have you ever seen the American flag? Or did you know where the American flag came from? Just something that is a question. It's usually a question that's just meant to kind of make the reader interested. Then they would state their prompt. That's the important part. That's where this yellow thing comes in. Then they would write their prompt. So if the prompt says, how the American flag is an important piece of U.S. history, they would just flip that around into a sentence that would be something like, The American flag is an important piece of U.S. history. Like the prompt that they type or that they write in for their P right here will sound almost exactly like this thing in yellow. Okay? All right, and then the next parts, again, we've done this like a billion times. They'll teach you probably better than I'm teaching you now. The next two paragraphs are both, those are like the main beefy body parts of the paragraph, if that makes sense. And we use the acronym TREE because they each stand for something. So this is transition word. So like first, reason. So a reason for the prompt. So a reason that the flag is important. Okay. And I tell them big reason. So maybe, it still was waving after a battle in 1812. Then this E is evidence. They have to use the text or use the passage to show where they found evidence of this reason. So reason for the prompt, so reason why the flag is important or whatever, and then evidence of how they knew this. Okay, so this is like a little more specific. It's like they take the reason and this would be like them stretching it out a little bit. And then the last E stands for elaborate. Elaborate means they tell what they think, what they feel, or what it makes them wonder. So the elaborate is kind of their own thinking about whatever they wrote. So sometimes we put a heart around it like this. So they remember the elaborate is what they think or feel about whatever they wrote for these first TRE things. Okay, so transition word, reason, evidence, elaborate. And then they do the same thing again. Transition word, so, but this time obviously be like second or also reason for that prompt. Reason it's important, whatever. Evidence that goes to support that reason, and then elaborate again. I think that this is amazing that the flag was still waving or whatever. So what they think or feel. And then the very last paragraph, I know some of the kids laughed, it's like TP, huh? A final transition word, so finally or in conclusion or some such thing. And then they just state the prompt again. So this P stands for prompt, just like this one up here. So they would just state the prompt again, but instead of saying the American flag is an important piece of history, they would just state it in a different way. This is why a lot of Americans feel that the American flag is an important part of our history or something, just so it doesn't sound exactly the same, but it has the same ideas. Okay, so just hook, prompt, transition word, reason, evidence, example. Same thing here. Final transition word, state this prompt again. Okay, so these two are the same. Okay. If you have any questions about this, just let me know. And hopefully, like, this was more for parents, but kids, students, if you need to use this, watch this, save it for when you are doing any of your writing, just let me know. Sometimes you'll see that I will tell them maybe they only have to do 3 paragraphs that day or something. That is meaning they would just take out one of these trees. So if I tell them they only have to do 3 paragraphs with 1 tree, then they could just do introduction, 1 main paragraph, final paragraph, and that one would just be taken out. So, okay, hopefully this helps. Thank you.